Day 14, Danelo Cavalcante, a fugitive in Pennsylvania, has been arrested. And we're going to dive in and learn more about how he was apprehended and the K9 officer who detained him. Hi, everyone. Alex with Empowering Survivors here. And I was making my coffee, having my breakfast as I learned about this capture this morning and watched the press conference and wanted to share with you the big takeaway for me, which, if you've watched my channel for some time, I love dogs and I love anytime animals, especially dogs, canines, get involved in helping to solve crime and be in any way a support, right? Like they're man's best friend, woman's best friend, and they're also an amazing asset for law enforcement. So we're going to listen to the press conference, some just little clips from the press conference today, and learn more about Yoda, the K9 officer who helped detain Cavalcante. And because they used the K9 officer, they were able to bring in Cavalcante alive. They didn't have to use deadly force, although they were authorized to do so in case that he was resisting arrest. So before we do that, if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate if you become part of the Empowering Survivors family, where we get to be the voice for the voiceless, missing persons, survivors, and others who need our support. So we're going to start here where this is Lieutenant Colonel Bivens, where he's been in charge of the entire operation for the last 2 weeks. And he's going to be talking a little bit about actually what happened, the operation that took down Cavalcante. So that's where we're going to start.
We had been searching an area not far from there already with some tactical teams that night. There was an aircraft overhead utilizing FLIR technology, and close to 1 a.m. picked up a heat signal that they began to track. It was west of PA 100 and north of Preiser Road. Tactical teams began to converge on that location where the heat source was moving. Unfortunately, we had a weather system that also came in, and we had lightning that was flashing all around, and it caused the aircraft to have to depart the area. Tactical teams made a decision to secure that area, that smaller area, as best they could, and hold it through the storm and until we could bring additional resources in and bring aircraft back overhead to ensure that we did not have an issue with an escape. That resumed early this morning, and shortly after 8 a.m., tactical teams converged on the area where the heat source was. They were able to move in very quietly. They had the element of surprise. Cavalcante did not realize he was surrounded until that had occurred. That did not stop him from trying to escape. He began to crawl through thick underbrush, taking his rifle with him as he went. One of the Customs and Border Control teams, BORTAC, had a dog with them. They released the dog. Some of our PSP CERT members were also there, had him surrounded. The dog subdued him, and team members from both of those teams immediately moved in. He continued to resist, but was forcibly taken into custody. No one was injured as a result of that. Excuse me. He did sustain a minor bite wound. We had medical personnel at the scene, and they took a look at that. Cavalcante was, as I said, taken into custody. He was transported to our Avondale station for further processing and interview, and he will ultimately be transferred to a state correctional institute where he will be housed and begin to serve his life sentence. In just a few minutes, I'll open this up to some questions, but before I do that, I want to turn this over to one of our very close partners, District.
All right, so we're gonna hear more about the dog's canines and their and what he believes are the importance of them. But just wanted to clarify. So the dog in question that took down Cavalcante was able to detain him, so that they were able to then the dog went in, got him, and then the individuals were able to actually like get him, apprehend him. They said BORTAC, which is the Border Patrol Tactical Unit, and CERT, which I had seen the acronym for that, but it's the State Tactical Unit. So they were like in camouflage. They, like you said, element of surprise. So these are the guys going in and just totally, blending in, camouflaged, quiet, element of surprise. And so that was great. And all right, so let's one thing, and before we go into more on the canine, I thought it was an interesting. He's going to talk. There's a question that was asked by the media about the use of force, and I thought that was really interesting. And let's listen to that.
Your officers were authorized to use lethal force if he didn't actively surrender. Was the goal to always take him in alive?
That's always our first choice and preference. Uh, Again, that option is only to prevent the escape of a very dangerous individual. Had they not been able to contain him, that would have remained an option.
Many people were putting up polls of whether we thought that he was going to be brought in dead or alive. And I actually felt like, because they had authorized that was a very, very, very strong possibility that he would not have survived. So I'm so grateful that they were able to bring in dogs. He did have a bite wound on his scalp, and because of that, he bled a lot, but it was not was not a major wound. So it bled a lot, but it was not as serious as perhaps it looked, because there were some photos where his entire face was bloody, and it was just really because of that, the puncture wound. So let's go more into, there was another dog that actually was a civilian dog, but he helped to bring in the other inmate that had escaped a few months ago. And I covered that, and I'll put a link up here if you want to watch that. But this is what Lieutenant Colonel Bivens had to say about that.
I know that you led the effort also in July earlier this year with that the first escape. It was a chocolate lab that ultimately led to his arrest, and now here we are again. You're talking about a K9 moving in and basically disabling Cavalcante. Can you just kind of talk about the having K9s and their use, and how much of an asset they are when you're trying to navigate tough terrain and track down dangerous?
Sure. I mean, in the case of Tucker, he was kind of a civilian. I would say we deputized, and brought him in. He's now an honorary member of PSP, but lab. But he was not involved in this. That was in Warren that this gentleman was referring to. Just, I believe there's a Shepherd or a Belgian Malinois. Just 1 minute, if I can come back to this gentleman, I apologize. In any event, canines play a very important role, not only for tracking, but also for, just like in a circumstance like this, safely capturing someone. Far better that we're able to release a patrol dog like this and have them subdue the individual than have to use lethal force. And so, again, our preference is always to use other means. Canines play a very important role.
I love that he made that distinction. And I mean, they actually did have bloodhounds in the search. The bloodhounds are really great for tracking. And this Belgian Malinois and Shepherds are really strong, and they're really good at detaining suspects, and or in this case escaped prisoners. So yes, it's a really interesting that they brought this in, and I'm so grateful that they did. I think it was a win-win for everyone. No lethal force needed to be used. He didn't have to use his gun either, and so I think that all it worked out really just win-win for everybody.
No,
This one, the tail on actual encounter with the dog tackling, fighting.
Again, I didn't see the specific capture. What I would tell you is the way those dogs are trained is to simply go to the person. They will grab whatever is closest for them to grab, and then they are trained to detain that individual. They don't just keep biting and releasing or trying to cause additional injury. They simply grab onto and try and hold that person in place until officers can get there. So that's why they're never released, at some great distance or unsupervised. There are officers close by who can then move in. The handler can immediately pull the dog back off of to give them a command, pull the dog back off, and then officers take over from there.
So again, a great explanation of how the canines work and the relationship that they have with their canine handlers. I actually interviewed 2 canine handlers, and they're amazing dogs that went viral because of their amazing service. And I'll put links to those 2 interviews also in the description. So here's an article from Fox. It says, expert explains how El Paso's BORTAC team, which I mentioned was the Border Patrol Tactical Team, apprehended the Pennsylvania escaped prisoner. So here are some photos, and they went ahead and blurred the faces of those involved. And here is Cavalcante. I'm not sure. I'm assuming this is Yoda, which is actually, I just noticed he's also wearing camouflage gear. So look at all of them are wearing camouflage. And so they're just blending in, right? And here's the team. There's one of the dogs as well. And there is much ado with the fact that Cavalcante was wearing a Philadelphia Eagles sweatshirt and even was taking a picture, which I thought was really, inappropriate, but I'm not gonna lose sleep over that. But so he was in his Philadelphia Eagles shirt, or a Philadelphia Eagles shirt. I'm assuming he stole it from someone or found it somewhere. Here's again one of the dogs. They're 2 different colors, so they must be 2 different dogs. This one's more of a this was a brown. The other one was this one here is black. I don't know if that's a Belgian Malinois or if that's another type of dog. But I'm assuming because this picture is showing him apprehended that this is Yoda, the dog that detained Cavalcante. And here is a little handsome face of Yoda. Okay, so this is definitely not the completely black dog. So this is Yoda. And actually, it looks like this is the local Fox station in El Paso, or in the El Paso area. The Pennsylvania escaped prisoner was captured thanks to the El Paso Border Patrol Tactical Team, BORTAC, a federal agency headquartered in El Paso. A former Border Patrol chief provided more details on what the team consists of. The team is a specialized Border Patrol group that trains at Fort Bliss and is sent to different operations across the country. According to Victor Manjarres, a former Border Patrol chief in El Paso and Tucson, the group is highly selective and requires an immense amount of training. You can have all the training and be very technical, but you got to be a good Border Patrol agent first. Manjarres said that you have to be a Border Patrol agent for at least 3 years before you can consider joining BORTAC. He said he wasn't surprised to hear that BORTAC helped in capturing Cavalcante. According to U.S. Customs and Border Protection officials, it was the K9 Yoda who ultimately took down Cavalcante. Yoda had the element of surprise and attacked Cavalcante without him knowing. Manjarres said it's not typical to have a canine on a specialized unit, especially when you're looking at a high-risk barricaded suspect or petition violent suspect. You have a canine handler to subdue the subject on the stomach on the ground, and hey, please don't let the dog bite me. The beauty of El Paso is that it provides a unique opportunity on the immediate border, and geographically, all the mileage is not the same. It appears to be a halfway point of the southern border. So once again, here is Yoda. Love it. Well, he certainly, used the force to help detain the escaped Cavalcante. And let's not forget the victim of Cavalcante, Deborah Brandao, who was a mom of 2, and she was stabbed multiple times by Cavalcante in front of her children. So not only did she die, they were traumatized because they saw it happening. And fortunately, he was convicted. He was sentenced to life, and he escaped August 31st. He was going to be transferred to a state prison after the sentence, and he escaped during that time before he was going to be transferred. He actually crab walked up the in the area, the main area there where people get their exercise in the jail, and went over razor wire, jumped over, and the prison guard on call, of there in the yard, didn't even notice it. And so it wasn't even noticed for about an hour. And so he got a huge lead, and was able to evade detection, well, at least capture, because he was detected in multiple places, but he was able to evade capture until today. So it was day 14 that he got caught. And I just wanted to do a quick moment of silence for Deborah and her family, who were also afraid for their life because they didn't know what could happen after he was convicted and with an escaped inmate, right? And also for another victim in Brazil that Cavalcante allegedly also killed, and their family. So let's do a moment of silence for them. And would love to hear your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you learned something today, I'd appreciate if you hit the thumbs up. And so make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, so that we can be an empowering, supportive community of compassionate voices that we support missing persons, survivors, and those who don't have a voice. All right, everyone, with that, stay safe, stay thriving, trust your intuition, and make sure to keep it empowering. Bye for now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for notifications. Thank you.